Can Europe lead? Are we too late, perhaps? Are other people streaking ahead of us on open source technologies? I wonder just what your assessment is when you're working with people you.
Yeah, so it's never too late. So of course, the Silicon Valley culture is somehow different, but we see these hotspots now emerging, and I think Berlin is some sort of getting the new Silicon Valley in Germany. And I've spoken to many startup founders, and they told me that there is more than enough money for them. If they have a great idea, there are enough EU money pots they can actually get access to. So that's not a problem. I think what we missed a bit is the coolness factor. So everybody wants to go to Silicon Valley, but I think the new shift towards working at home and working distributed globally will help us to just stay where we are. And one concern I have is most of the open source foundations are actually from US. And in theory, I've read that somewhere, the US government could basically say, okay, we just regulate this. This is now property of United States, and it falls under the export regulations. And then we have to start from scratch. So we should actively find a central foundation in Europe, which can also act something like the Apache Software Foundation. And what I'm also missing a bit is the academic contributions to open source. They just go up to their paper publications, but it doesn't come to a majority. And on the other hand, industry, they are using open source as some sort of warfare now. It's same with closed source products. Now it's open source warfare. It's one open source product against the other. And I think Jochen wants to speak, so I give Jochen the word, of course.
I don't want to interrupt you. I just want to say,
no problem.
I very much agree. And I know from discussions, we have had discussions in the context of Industry 4.0 in Germany, for instance, that there is still a bit of uncertainty amongst, for instance, universities, what it means if their professors, if their staff contribute to open source. How do they check? I mean, contributing to open source is, on the one hand, very easy. On the other hand, of course, if you have IP in the background, intellectual property, etc., you want to check a bit. You want not to give things away that you don't want to give away, etc. So organizations need to build some capacity around this, and there is still some uncertainty, yeah, amongst some organizations in the academic world, but also amongst new players or more traditional industry players who would like to contribute, but who are not sure what happens if my person contributes code and the code is faulty, but it gets in, am I then liable? These are questions that people ask for contributing to open source in general, yeah? Not about AI, but in general. And there seems to be the culture is evolving, and it may also be a generation gap a bit. Yeah, younger people are more ready; they want to contribute, and then they face the gray-haired lawyers in their organizations saying, "Oh, stop, please, careful, careful." This is something where we might see to help. It may also be something for the legislators, for Tiemo to take with him to see, is there something where the legislator needs to produce clarity on liability questions that are up? Are they valid? Are they not valid? These kind of things. So, Romeo, sorry, I didn't want to interrupt you.
Only one thing to say, as an example, two mostly used deep learning frameworks are TensorFlow and PyTorch. So TensorFlow is led by Google, PyTorch is led by Facebook. And previously there was another which was called Tiemo that was led by a US university. And as I said, the open source warfare is currently at the highest, and we just need to be aware that all the major companies have a high political interest in shaping this open source world.
Thank you, Romeo.